A huge step back was the election of Donald Trump as president. Another huge step forward, the election of Joe Biden. I think MAGA and the domestic terror threat is much more worrisome than any foreign threat we could face.
An MSNBC host marking 20 years since 9/11 by comparing President Trump's Make America Great Again movement to terror organizations like al-Qaeda.
Here to react, Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Oh boy, that is quite a statement and quite divisive, Joe.
And the timing of it, Mealy, right? To make this kind of argument on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is a slap in the face to the nearly 3,000 victims of that terror threat, a slap in the face to their loved ones, to the police, to the firefighters, the EMTs, to all the volunteers who worked for months in that rubble in Lower Manhattan, exposing themselves to God knows what. Jonathan Capehart is and has always been a Democratic activist playing the role of a serious and sober commentator in the pages of the Washington Post and on TV like we saw there. This person literally said 2 weeks ago that Afghanistan and the handling of that withdrawal will just be a momentary blip, his words, as far as in the minds of the American voter. And his role as that activist is to deflect from Afghanistan, because that's bad for the party he serves at the pleasure of. Afghanistan, as you were just talking about earlier, with ISIS and al-Qaeda and other bad actors using it as a terrorist playground to plan the next 9/11, is the story. It's a catastrophe of the Biden administration's own making. But some in media want it to go away because they see the president's poll numbers and they want to make it all about Trump again, who isn't in power. And it's just so pathetic to watch. I hate starting my Monday like this. I like going on the work week on a positive note. Now I'm all angry.
Sorry.
I may even get you more angry with this next question. How worried are you that those tasked with stopping actual terrorism, not a guy in horns not wearing a shirt, but actual real terrorism, our intel services, our law enforcement? How worried are you that they share this view of Jonathan Capehart?
That's kind of scary, right? When you consider, again, that now you have Afghanistan, we don't have, it's worse than it was in 9/11, because any of our Afghan allies, people that live there on the ground, they're not going to give us any intelligence anymore. We don't have any military there because we pulled everybody out before we even got our own citizens out. So, yeah, that should be the worry. But, well, you know what, it's over there, and we're not going to worry about that much. And, again, this is just the media. They are clamoring, and I wrote about this last week in a column for The Hill, for Donald Trump to run again, particularly CNN and MSNBC, who have seen ratings drops of 50, 60, 70%, because then they can make the story about him again instead of judging this administration, you know, the people that are in power, on their performance in terms of economy, inflation, crime, foreign policy, and the border, all of which are going horrifically right now.
It's also still goes back to a problem that we've been talking about, where right now we're in this point in time where people are grouping everyone into one category, into one box. You know, like you listen to that soundbite, and he's talking about MAGA supporters, and most people on the left would say MAGA supporters are Republicans, right? So you're grouping everyone into one category. How dangerous is it when we're doing that nowadays?
74 million people voted for Donald Trump in 2020. That wasn't enough to get him over the finish line. Joe Biden is now your president. And just to paint those 74 million people as all horrible people who are insurrectionists and all these sort of hyperbolic words, no, of course it doesn't help anybody. And again, I'll repeat this poll because it bears repeating, Jillian, and that is that Gallup found in a poll last year that 83% of Americans believe that the media bears some of the blame for divide in this country. And when you hear rhetoric like that, that is Exhibit A, the top of your syllabus, if you're teaching a class on how to divide a country, guys.
I just worry that what we heard from Capehart and things that we've heard over the course of the last couple of years, quite frankly, shows the distance between, even though it's been 20 years, there's been a lot more in terms of our national conscience, in terms of being scared about actual terrorism and letting these other thoughts pop up in people's mind. You have to hope that we have our eye on the ball, Joe Concha, because otherwise, I hate to, I don't want to say it. You know what I'm thinking. I don't want to say it, but God forbid that happens again.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
I know what I'm thinking, by the way. That tie, is that peach? I want to end this on a happy note. I'm trying to get the color, and I can't quite identify it.
It's not really red, though.
It's red. It's red. I know my tie.
It's like a Nantucket red,
like
maybe?
Salmon, maybe?
It's
Thanks,
salmon.
Joe.
We'll go with
Salmon. That's good. That's good. All right. Salmon always swims upstream, which is, bad for the salmon. I'd always swim downstream.
Thanks,
it's
Joe.
a line from Seinfeld.
Good
I got to go, guys.
Good
Bye.
for the tuna.